All right, and now we move. I called this the main event because I knew that Ricky was going to have a James Harden debate and a Jamal Murray debate. But now we get to go through the 10 through 1. So at number 10, starting our top 10, would be the Boston Celtics, Drew Holiday. At number 9, Sacramento Kings, De'Aaron Fox. At number 8, the Milwaukee Bucks, Damian Lillard. At number 7, the Memphis Grizzlies, John Morant. At 6, the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton. At number 5, Philadelphia 76ers, Tyrese Maxey. At number 4, New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson. At number 3, Oklahoma City Thunder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. At number 2, Golden State Warriors, Stephen Curry. And at number 1, Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic. So immediately, I'm going to throw it to both of you. Both of you had Steph Curry higher than SGA. I had SGA higher than Steph Curry. Give me your thoughts.
Steph Curry still Steph Curry. I don't give like I think SGA had a fantastic season. His foul merchantness is unheralded. Like he has learned, he has mastered his craft. It's incredibly annoying, and I think that his game. I don't want to say like his game is great, but his team around him is now like handcrafted to be like the shit. So my question is this year, what?
You are just rattling off right now.
I apologize. I got to resign and refund myself.
You're good.
I got him
Oklahoma City is so stacked positionally and from a flexibility standpoint. They have adjustments and tweaks and changes to fight every single other roster. Like they can match up with anybody and should have the advantage. So Shai had a great year last year, and we can talk about like their season came short because they had, they needed a bigger presence near the rim. They needed additional rebounding. They had a guy out there who was basically dead weight. They pulled off the court when he didn't have the ball in his hands because guess what? We need shooting. We need guys who can defend. So like this is the it year for Shai. Meanwhile, Steph Curry is someone who is just the greatest shooter of all time, the greatest point guard of all time, and now still shooting at an incredibly high rate. And I think upgraded his roster. Dare I say?
Not saying much.
Still, I give the default to the champion. I give the default to the guy who's the GOAT, even in aging. He is still the best point guard we've ever seen. He's still one of the most creative passers. He's one of the smartest players. He has the whole game, and I don't know. I mean, we're arguing slivers here, 2 versus 3. I understand, but I'd give it to the guy who's done it.
Yeah, Ricky, you had Steph Curry at 1, so give me your thoughts on having him over.
You ruined my thing. I swerved him. I swerved him, Dave. I swerved you. I meant to say I swerved him, Jake. Dave was saying earlier, oh, he gave away the spoiler. I didn't give away anything. Lucas 3. Lucas 3. SGA's 2, baby. All the last year, SGA is on a progression. He's on a progression. Steph is still Steph. I agree. He's number 1.
Ricky's the biggest Steph fan I've ever met in my life. That's why I was so shocked when he gave Luka the 1. I was like, wait, what?
You should have known. You should have known. Like the Batman. Here's the twist. Yep. I just, to me, based on the last year, like, it's really, like, to be honest, it's splitting hairs. It's really split. It's just straight up, I'm like, who would I rather have running my team? Yeah. And I mean, Luka's great. Luka's, you know how much we love triple doubles. Triple doubles are great, but do triple doubles win you championships? No, they do not. And I think this Thunder team could win a championship. And why? Because of SGA. That's why I had him at 2. I'm like, that's why I would choose him over Luka.
Hold on. Let's not go into the Luka discussion yet. Let's stick on Steph SGA. Because I didn't give. Let me just butt in here because I'm the one who had SGA higher than Steph Curry. We start off by saying I think SGA is a top 5 player in the entire league. All right, I'm super high on him. I think he's elite defensively. You want me to give you my players there, Dave?
I could see 5. I could see 5.
Luka, SGA, Embiid, Giannis, and Jokic. Those are the 5. Not in order, but those are the 5.
Yeah.
So then SGA is at 2 for me. Luka's at 1. Steph Curry's at 3, just for reference. Like Ricky said, it's splitting hairs. That's fine. But Dave, you made a point that like his team is cultivated around him to maximize his efficiencies and
it has been now. Yep.
That's what Steph Curry's whole career has been. I don't knock him for that, right? Draymond Green and Klay Thompson and guys like that were perfectly fit for his play style and his system. So I don't think that's a negative to use against SGA.
No,
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm jumping in early, but it's not a negative. It's now he has to prove it. That's my thing for him. It's like Steph got that lineup. Steph won championships. Steph even won a championship with a jank lineup. But the point is that like SGA, this is his prove it year for me. This is what elevates you. Is you got no excuses now. OKC has done everything under the sun to make this roster the most talented, deepest, whatever you want to throw it at it. But
Yeah, I find that interesting though because SGA is still super young. It's not a prove it year this year to me, right? He has the Thunder have probably the biggest window to win a championship of anybody in the NBA right now. So it's not a 1 year thing for me. And SGA last year in the playoffs I thought he was fantastic, especially with the concepts, the context around him and the teams and Giddey being so poor and Chet kind of got his like welcome to the NBA a little bit in the playoffs. Like he was good, but he was not the Chet that you saw in the regular season with his rim protection, with all of that, right? I just think SGA at this point is a better player than Steph Curry, and that's not really a knock on Steph Curry, right? Steph Curry, I agree with Dave. I think he's the greatest point guard of all time. I think he's the greatest shooter of all time. That's obvious. If you disagree with that, you're mad. He's the greatest shooter of all time, right? He's the second best player of this entire generation, right? Like that, all that stuff. But right now, I think SGA has overtaken him because his defense is better. His playmaking is better. His scoring overall is better. He's not a better shooter, right? He's not a better shooter. But SGA can do more on the court to impact winning than Steph Curry does right now. It's not a knock on Steph Curry. I think the top three are all tier 1 NBA players, right?
Yeah.
I think these are 3 top 7, top 8 guys that you're talking about in the league.
Two questions.
And you're right about the defense.
2 questions for you.
I know.
Number one, Jake. You're in a Game 7 NBA Finals, must-win game. Who would you rather have as your point guard going into that game, SGA or Steph?
Sorry, right now I'm taking Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Number 2, we're down to the final shot in that game. Who would you rather take, Steph or SGA?
I'm taking right now Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
See, I think that's
ludicrous.
You're
not.
I think that's ludicrous. I would take Steph in both of those. Not on the Warriors, not like all the other team aside, just the point guard. And yet again, this is like my rankings, like how I did it.
Yeah.
If I'm constructing a team, who do I want to be my point guard? Steph.
I would say though, even if say I flip my answer to both of those of Steph, right? It doesn't mean that he should.
Yeah, again, splitting hairs too.
Yeah, agreed. But if you're asking me for the entire season, who would I rather have this upcoming season? I'm taking SGA because SGA is what is the word I'm looking for? He's such a diverse player that you can play in so many different systems that can play off ball. He can play on ball. Steph, obviously one of the greatest off ball players in history of NBA. Yep. But he's 6'3", and in a league like today, you have to maximize your entire roster around him, which is what they are doing now. And Dave said they upgraded their roster. They kind of had some. If Andrew Wiggins has been awful on the roster, we'll talk about him in the small forward. He was awful last year. Obviously, he's dealing with some off the court stuff. Hopefully, everything goes well there, or everything gets better. I just think SGA at this point is a better player.
No.
I don't think it's a massive thing to say. I just think he's a better player.
I think I got some emotional attachments to Steph Curry. I admit
Yeah.
should be a tiebreaker considering their offensive games are both elite of elites.
Yes.
I'll admit that. I have no shame in admitting that.
I took emotional out of it. I took emotional.
And when he hits those shots, it's just like it's so hard. It's so hard to not just love that, man. The Olympics, man. I have recency bias bad. I got some bad recency bias because
this is my thing, right? Like Steph Curry, and I have praised him for the first 5 minutes that I talked about them, right?
Yeah.
Like we're ranking Steph Curry behind Luka and SGA. That is no terms of disrespect, right? Hey, if you go back and you look at my tweets from like 2015, I was saying that Steph was better than LeBron at times. All right, I remember Steph was absolutely insane. He still is insane. He still is an incredible player, one of the best in the league at 35, 30, whatever he is, 36, something like that. He's old, and he's still
35. No, 36. He's 36. Yeah.
He's still an incredible player. But when you look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the switchability on defense that he can guard a 1 through 3 on defense, right? He can score at all 3 levels at a crazy efficient level, right?
Yeah.
It's not a knock on Steph Curry, and I think, like I said to you, Ricky, just because somebody can hit the last shot of a game, like that means that DeJounte.
I'm not talking about shot of any game. I'm talking about like when the ultimate game.
Yeah, but
put the ball in Steph Curry's hands.
And this is where it makes it interesting, right? Because I don't think that's an accurate way to rank people, right? Because if we're gonna say that until LeBron retires, I'm gonna take LeBron over everybody because he's LeBron James.
That's fine.
Right? But I'm saying like, no, but I'm saying like Steph could be averaging 8 points a game right now, and you would still say with the last shot of a game, you would take Steph Curry.
Yeah, because he's the
That's what I
greatest
mean.
shooter ever to like.
Agreed.
He's the greatest point guard that I've ever seen play the game, even at 36.
I agree. That's my whole thing, right? Is that, and I'll back this up. All right, we'll include the third wheel of this. Luka. Luka might be the number one guy in the league right now that I'm taking to make a last shot. All right, he is as cold-blooded as they come. Him and Kyrie carried that team to the finals, right? They had Derek Lively was good in the playoffs. PJ Washington was good in the playoffs. They had good performances for other people. But Luka and Kyrie were the cogs that kept this whole thing going, right? I just think, I know Dave will probably, you had Luka one, correct?
I did.
All right, you want to talk about like all we can bring Luka in. So if you want to talk about the comparisons to all three,
yeah, I mean, I just maybe Ricky's got some carryover hatred for James Harden or of James Harden, and that's hurting the Luka case because they do.
You're talking about the triple
similar
doubles.
things. Yeah,
Don't forget about Westbrook too.
Felt,
Don't forget about Westbrook too.
Hey Ricky, we share that one. Fist bump.
Yeah, I
don't
need that from you guys. I don't need that at all.
Wait, Ricky, you know how
how many wet boys did he get for a triple double?
Ricky, you notice how Westbrook is not on this list because he's not a starter in the NBA anymore.
Because he sucks.
That's crazy. All right, Dave, continue.
So, Luka Doncic, best point guard in basketball.
Yes.
I mean, like you said, him and Kyrie were fantastic for the whole playoff run, but that team changed and he hit a different level when they added spacing, and undeniable. Just the bullshit he could pull off on a basketball court is just there's no reason it should work sometimes. I mean, he's not the quickest, he's not the fastest, he's not the strongest, he's not anything the most. He just happens to be the best point guard in basketball, in my opinion. And I feel like, thank you, Oscar, for the stat. Thunder won 80% of the games he had a triple double in, so suck it.
Wow.
He did have crazy good stats. Russell Westbrook, shout out.
Triple doubles don't mean a thing.
He's talking about Westbrook, right? Yeah,
yeah.
I just want to clarify my Westbrook hate is current Westbrook, not so much past Westbrook.
Okay, fair. But yeah, I just there's something special about Luka, and I've known it since day zero during the draft days. It was just like he's so much better, and it's insane to watch him continue to get better as a pro.
Yeah.
I feel like the positional advantage because of size. You mentioned it going 6'3" to 6'6" for Steph to Shea is one thing. Luka's bigger, Luka's stronger, and I think that he uses that to get to his spots in the court. Shea has that shiftiness. Shea's got that first step, and he can get to the paint so easily. I feel like Luka can grind out mid-range shots, which you don't want to do during the regular season, but when you need him in the playoffs and you need shots to fall, you can trust that he can get to his spot and he can get there. He can get to the foul line. There's just everything to his game. He has a complete game, and I get it. You want to complain about him taking plays off on defense the same way that Harden did. Guess what? You're going to have to if you're going out there and playing 40-some minutes a night, carrying the entire offense on your back. That's the trade-off that you're okay making.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'll move into the next. I'm going to tier these ones because I think most of us had them in about the same. The only discrepancy is I think Dame is a little bit higher because Ricky had Jamal Murray up top, so he got a little bit of leeway there. The next segment is really it's Brunson, Maxey, Howley, and Ja. All right, it's those four together. I think Ricky had Maxey the highest.
I did, and I was going to ask you, why Brunson? I will say, quick aside, I probably could have had Tyrese Halliburton one spot higher. I could have probably switched him and Murray. But why Jalen Brunson over Maxey? Maybe it's because I watched a lot more Sixer games this year. I wonder why. But
hey, don't blame me.
But Brunson's good. I'm not saying he's bad. But watching Maxey, I am like, wow, look at how much better he was this year. And I think he's going to be even better coming into this next year now with the Sixers, to where I'm like, Jake, you were the even one where I looked at, I was like, wait, I got Maxey higher than Jake?
Yeah.
What?
So for reference, I had Brunson at 4, Maxey at 5. All right. Not putting too much of a discrepancy, but I watched Jalen Brunson in the playoffs, especially against the Sixers last year. First of all, I'll speak on I'll stay on Brunson first. I think Brunson is he's exceeded my expectations so severely coming to the Knicks. Like, I thought he could take a jump. He was very good in Dallas, obviously in his last year, especially in that playoff run.
Yep.
But when I watched him against the Sixers, his ability to navigate in space and dictate the pace of play that he goes at is amazing. He's up there with CP3 and James Harden and those kind of guys who, when they take a screen, now it'll be interesting because Hartenstein created a lot of his looks last year, especially in the playoffs with his screens, right? Hartenstein's one of the best screen setters in the entire league. So losing him, Mitch Rob's going to be out till December, January. I guess Julius Randle's going to be the one setting him screens, right? But Brunson's ability to create space in tight spaces is superb and elite. His passing game, I think, is probably a little bit underrated because I don't think people talk about it very much. And defensively, we talk about dogs. He is a dog. He is a dog. All right. He fights. He's undersized. I'd be shocked if he's taller than 6'1". I don't know what they list him at, but I'd be shocked if he's 6'6".
Yeah.
That's the highest I think he is. But his ability
he's listed at 6'2" somehow.
Yeah, no way is he 6'2".
No.
He's an elite shooter. He fights on defense, especially through screens. He was very good at getting around and kind of sticking to his offense player in the playoffs. And I just think last year, right, the Knicks, it was kind of a war of attrition at the end. Even himself, he was hurt, right? And he fought through injuries and he played and they beat the Sixers. There were some
That man lived on the foul line against the Sixers.
Well, there were some circumstances in that series that I don't need to get spiteful and salty on here, so it won't matter. Okay. But I think Jalen Brunson, I think he deserves his respect. I think he's top 4. Do I think Maxey could jump him this year? Absolutely, Maxey could. If Maxey plays to the top of his ability, that I think he could this year. But like we talked about switching to Maxey, actually, I won't switch yet. Dave, you want to chime in on Brunson?
Yeah, no, I think that playoff elevation was incredible from him against the Sixers, him against Indiana. That team just had no bodies left. Like that was, like you said, like they were rolling out Josh Hart at the 5 because like it was their best option, because it was just like, we don't have anyone else. I will put the 6'6" guy out there who hustles his ass off for rebounds because that's the only body who we can put out there. They didn't, I bet Thibodeau was kicking himself for trading Taj Gibson, Dig up Taj, put him back on the roster. They need a center.
Dig up Taj.
I feel like he signed somewhere, but
he did. I don't remember where.
Yeah,
I got you.
But it's just that team. You're right. It's going to change a lot this year. They added McHale. They lost Hartenstein, so it's just a toss up of like, we'll see what this offense becomes for him. But I think this is like a respect posting for me as far as rankings, because the way he carried that Knicks team when Randall went down. And I was like, oh, well, there goes their second ball handler. There goes the guy that they use as like a secondary point of attacking from the mid post. And instead, we're watching Jalen Brunson just like team on my back. Like he is the definition of that. And they grinded out every game in the most New York Knicksy way with Tom Thibodeau. And just, I don't know, players who embody their city that way. And I know he was traded there, so it's not like you got the draft love either. But it's just like, no, that guy is legit like New York Knicks royalty.
He signed there.
Yeah, I guess he chose there, so that means something. But like the point is like guys who represent their city, they got that vibe of that. Like Derrick Rose was for Chicago, where we had that emotional attachment to him, and his game elevated, and we all fell in love even further. I feel like Brunson in New York with that massive media market, like the spotlight was bright, and he lived up. Like that means a lot, considering a lot of the guys who've played in New York who haven't.
Yeah. He's the first guy since Melo, I think, that I've like really actually seen embody New York, like in terms of their play and all that. They thought maybe RJ would do it, never took the jump. You want to jump in, Ricky?
I was just gonna say Charlotte was the answer you were looking for.
I was just in Charlotte.
Yeah.
For now.
You want to bet?
For now.
Yeah, you want to make a bet? I bet you he's a Knick at least once before the end of the year.
This season, yeah.
Now Mitch Rob's out until like December, January. I'm sure Tibbs is like, hey guys, hey, how you doing? You want to release Tibbs? You want to release Taj over there?
Yeah.
I'll switch it a little bit to Maxey. I remember Dave and I were talking before last season, and we were like, if Maxey averages 25 a game this year, that's a win.
Yep.
Because that's what and he did it, and then some in the playoffs, right? I don't think I know we lost the series, but the and 1-3 followed by the logo pull up from deep in game 5. I think I should have gotten a noise complaint for that in my apartment.
Yeah,
I screamed at the top of my lung. Like he is just such. We said dog. He's such a dog, right?
He's a dog.
The Sixers had to lock him out of the gym in the summer because he would go too often. Like they had to create Tyrese Maxey blackout days so he couldn't go and work out. He is just the epitome of when you draft a player, what you want from them, right? In the gym. Now he's turned into a little bit of a leader. Like he's literally taken Ricky Council, Jared McCain, Adam Bona, and literally working out with them in Texas in the offseason, right? His game has taken a leap. His playmaking even took a leap, and his defense is taking a leap year on year because he was a bad defender if we talked 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Last year, he was probably a little bit below average to average. Like he was playable at least, right? And now this offseason we've seen he's added muscle to try to, because he saw in that Knicks series, Brunson is deceptively strong, like deceptively strong, and that he got out muscled a lot in that series, and he had to play through it. And now you've seen the adjustment. So I'm interested to see the jump he takes. And Ricky, you were mentioning him maybe being above being above Brunson. Do you think he's going to be better this year? So what are your outlook on him?
I just look at it and I go, watching him last year, you adding the context of like him being locked out of the gym, I just go, he's got the best center in the league, or one of them, who knows? But
thank you.
He's got one of the best centers in the league, and when Embiid is off the court, Maxey steps up. And if you were like didn't know anything about basketball, and alien comes down from outer space, watches basketball, and Embiid's not on the court, there's a good like 99.9% chance they would go, wow, this is the best player on that team.
You know who they wouldn't say that about? Tobias Harris.
Well, he's a Piston, so like.
Do you want to get me going on that? We'll wait till the power forward ranking.
That doesn't.
You'll see where.
He's a
no.
Piston,
I just want to take another shot at the Detroit Pistons for sucking.
Jeez.
Right there. I got
you.
Yeah, you'll see where I have Tobias Harris in the power forward.
I had to. I saw an opportunity to.
So yeah, Tobias Harris. You want to take a guess how many points Tobias Harris had in the elimination game in Philly?
0.
Oh yeah, 0.
Yeah, big goose
Zero.
egg. Big old goose egg.
Big goose egg making.
But how many dented rims did he have?
I don't even know. I don't even want to know. I think he was
afraid to shoot half the time.
Well, that's his own fault. Making $39 million a year, afraid to shoot a basketball. Sorry.
I have a question. Since both these guys are
talking about Maxey and Brunson. Okay.
Yep. Since both these guys got big additions on the wing this year for their team, how do you expect that to change their role on the team? Because Paul George kind of a big deal. Mikal Bridges switching roles completely. He went from defensive 3-and-D wing god to like you have the offensive show to run here in the Nets where no one cares, and now he's going to a loaded Knicks team. So like, how do you think that affects like these guys' chance this year?
I don't think it affects Maxey, but Jake, I don't know if you agree with me.
So I'll start on Brunson first. I think Brunson will be about the same role. I'll be interested to see their at least their on-ball screen usage, because if you're going to run Randall and Hart out there, I actually think it might be more beneficiary to have Hart be the screen setter instead of Julius Randle, because I think I worry about Julius Randle when you ask him to move too much on offense. All right, when he is asked to cover space, it is not a good outcome. So I would think a lot of like Josh Hart sets a screen. I could even see Mikal Bridges setting screens for Jalen Brunson, and then having Randall on the weak side, at the block or whatever. I don't think Brunson's changes that much. I just think he has more options now. So that'll create a little bit more space for him in the mid-range. We'll see. Randall is the X factor in that entire thing, and we'll talk more on Randall whenever we get to his rankings. But I just will be interested to see how the system adjusts with him. And even with Mitrov, because Mitrov is not a great screen setter, right? He's not like the Hartenstein loss is interesting. I don't think Jalen Brunson and the Knicks are going to fall off a cliff like I've seen some people say. But I think it'll just be interesting to see how Tibbs adjusts it, because a lot of it, to be honest with you, the Knicks play a lot of freelance offense, we'll call it. Like they have sets and they have plays that they run, but they don't run a lot of like, you do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this. It's a lot of, let's get Brunson in space, let's get somebody rolling towards the basket, and let's see what we can create out of that. That was the majority of the Knicks series. Yeah. To your point on Maxey, I don't think it changes much, because last year Nick Nurse said, F it, we're going to run our sets regardless of who we have. And then once we get the personnel to plug in, it'll make sense, right? The only difference, because you said it won't change much, Ricky, I think the only difference will be, it'll be interesting to see how Nick Nurse staggers the lineup. because is Maxey going to see as more minutes with Embiid? Because we saw at last year, beginning of second quarter, beginning of fourth quarter, it'd be Maxey by himself. Now will it be Maxey and Paul George, or would it be Maxey and Embiid? And then
I
the rest
think
Embiid?
there's still going to be spots in the rotation where both Paul George and Embiid are getting rest, and it's just Maxey out there with the young guys, though.
I think I would tend to agree. I think that's probably the best outcome, especially with Drummond, because Maxey and Drummond have a little bit of a connection, right? I remember back, I think it was when we played the Nets. There's just this one play where
Maxey drives in, two guys go to Maxey because, you can't just let him get a layup. He just tosses it up, Drummond dunk.
Yeah, that was the growth I saw in Maxey last year, is the decision-making improved. He's just such an interesting player because it's really like, I only see it with him and Ja, is they are so quick off the dribble that if you blitz them, they're quick enough to see the blitz and split you before you get set. So it's just an interesting. The Sixers, again, you'll see in our predictions. I don't think they're really going to win a title this year, but it'll be interesting to see how many different actions they could run now. Because Embiid, you're kind of hoping to decrease his usage a little bit, just a teeny bit, and a lot of his isolation use because you have so many guys now. I think and retaining Kelly Oubre will be huge for Maxey and his assists because Kelly Oubre, weak side corner cuts is always a huge thing.
Yeah.
Watch this, Dave. After night one, this guy's going to be like, the Sixers are the champions. They're going to win it all.
We lose night one every year, so I don't know. We lose.
Max, you just got to watch out for Drummond coming up behind, trying to swat his own layups.
Boom! He's bringing the boom, is what you're saying? The last two guys on
you don't
this,
have the schedule memorized? You don't know who you play week one? Or
we play the Bucks. We play the Bucks.
Okay.
I said we never win game one. Trust me, I was there 2 years ago when we played the Bucks game one.
We never win game one, he says.
Next two guys, Ricky, I'll throw it to you actually. Halliburton and John Morant. We'll touch on those two, whichever one you want to talk about first. Your thoughts.
So, John Morant, and the reason why I'm going to say this is I have John Morant lower than possibly anyone could imagine because I had him at 9. Or 8, I'm sorry, because our sheet is the top line. I had him at 8. And the main reason why I had him at 8, can I deny that Ja is a good player? No. Can I deny that Ja is a top 10 point guard? No. But there are still 7 guys, Tyrese, Jamal, Jalen, Tyrese Maxey, Luka, Shea, and Steph. All those guys I would rather have over Ja. And that was just as simple as that. Now, the other thing is him coming back with this team. One thing you're going to notice with my rankings, you miss a lot of time. That's going to hurt you a little bit. You missed a lot of time last year. You're going to have to make that time up. So that also played into it too. But I would take the 7 guys I have above him over him if I wanted a point guard on my team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too far off of you. I don't know. Like the Jamal Murray thing, we already had the conversation. He's the only guy in that group who you listed who I'm like, no. But outside of that, same spot. Like John Morant's electric. He is lightning in a bottle out there since he got in the NBA. He's awesome. Loved him. Shout out to my way too early prediction. Had him in my top 10 draft class before you even knew who John Morant was.
Just because Dave watched Murray State basketball before anyone knew what Murray State was.
You're welcome. If you were listening, you knew about John Morant before the tourney. You knew about him before everything. Point being, he's a winner. His team wins. And he came in the NBA, and when they were healthy, they won like 50-some games. It was high 50s, I want to say, that healthy year. And I think the team's only gotten better since. I know Steven Adams being gone sucks, obviously. There's a lot riding on Zach Edey being able to perform at an NBA level right out the gates. Obviously, this is a front office driven by data and analytics. They really trust their gut when they take shots on guys. Sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it really doesn't. They've got a couple wings who they've, pretty much given up on because they were just horrible whiffs. That called that out early, too. I feel like they have more talent, though. Like last year, they got to cycle through that roster and find the pieces that will fit, which was a kind of a bonus for them. So I think he's on the best team he's ever been on now. And they've got depth at the right spots outside of center, which, we can see Jaren slide to the 5 again for some short term. We'll see what Brandon Clark looks like. He's kind of the mystery box on the team coming off of his major injury. So I just feel like John Morant is so absurdly talented. I I agree with everything you said, but I just don't love the keeping Jamal Murray over him. Outside of that, I think we've got him pretty much the same spot.
Yeah, actually, so I have Jaw 6th, Dave has him 7th, and Ricky has him 8th. So we're all.
Yeah, I love John Morant. I still don't even have him the highest.
Yeah, I have him the highest because I also love John Morant. I'll move on to Tyrese Halliburton, and I actually think Ricky and I have him at the same spot. I believe it's 7, and I think Dave has him at 5, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So the reason I ranked him a little bit lower, Ricky, you can speak to your own testament. I think Halliburton is a tremendous player, and I think we're splitting hairs in this tier of this second tier of point guards. But I think he's, I don't want to say the word capped, but I think what we have with Tyrese Halliburton now, I don't know how much more growth we're gonna see. Like, and it's not a hate thing, right? I think him with Rick Carlisle. I'm also a gigantic Rick Carlisle supporter. I think he's a fantastic coach. I said it when Dallas let him go. I don't understand it. Obviously, there was some, I think, behind the scenes stuff that went on. That was the reason that he got fired. I just think Tyrese Halliburton. You kind of made this point with SGA, to be honest with you. I think he's so embedded in that system of Indiana, and it is so tailored towards him. Like it I said this earlier for SGA whenever you were talking about it. It maximizes his positives to the ceiling, and it nullifies his negatives, right? Because his defensive movement is questionable at times, but his basketball IQ, his ability to run in transition, his ability to find people out of the pick and roll, his ability to shoot step backs, even though his shot is so funky, but it
should not work, and yet it does.
No, but it does, right? But I think it's kind of similar to back in Trae Young whenever the Hawks did it. I did not want to live in the moment of him making the Eastern Conference Finals, which I think they made because of the war of attrition that they were playing against in the New York Knicks, which is not a slight on them. If you make the Eastern Conference Finals, you make the Eastern Conference Finals. As a Sixers fan, I know nothing about that, all right? So I understand that it's a big achievement. I just question, in his pure player ability, if you're asking me on any team, would I rather have Ja, Maxey, or Brunson, I'm going to take those three over Halliburton, because I feel like Halliburton, as special of a player he is, you have to tailor towards him, while the other guys you could plug in and they could play just about anywhere.
Again, splitting hairs is
the key
phrase here, but I feel like I default to the 3-point shot being the tiebreaker for me between like a Ja and a Maxey and a Tyrese Halliburton.
Wouldn't Maxey be number one then? He's the best shooter out of all of them.
I think Hallie is. I still think Hallie is. I think that's just me. I think that Tyrese Maxey gets a lot of looks because Joel Embiid exists. And I don't think that's the case for Tyrese Halliburton. He doesn't have any focal point on the offense that demands any attention from the defense. Like, they added Pascal Siakam, and guess what?
Yeah.
I'll have to look at the splits. I'll have to look at the splits from the trade date, but I genuinely don't think, like, if it went up, great, because that shows that, yes, the defense had to pay attention to someone else. But the level of offensive production that Tyrese Halliburton was able to achieve on the Pacers last year was insane. I mean, they were averaging just clown show numbers. It just, nothing about that offense could get stopped because you just always had guys having opportunities to take 3-point shots. They went all in on, we're going to hit the most efficient shot in basketball. We're always going to get the guys' looks. Like you said, they built their roster out. They've got a bunch of shooters now. It is just so modern NBA that, yes, they did lose in the playoffs in a not so great way, unfortunately. But they got there through their offense. They are true to who they are. They will win through just outscoring the opponent, running them into the ground kind of stuff. So I love that. And I think that's why, like, Tyrese, he's one of the best passers, one of the best shooters, one of the best facilitators. And like you said, like, it's just always effortless with him on offense. And you're right, defensively, there's a lot of room to improve, but at least he has size. That's the differentiator between him and Trae Young with me. Like, I see Tyrese Halliburton, he has size, he has a wingspan, he can get into passing lanes. He doesn't get the same thing. Yeah, he needs to add muscle. There's no doubt. He gets back down. We saw that happen. But when it comes down to it, I value the 3-point shot and his ability to create for everybody else. That just, like, he could literally just average like 14, 15 assists a game, and that would be normal. But Indy is playing through their depth of guards right now. And they're like, oh, we got other guys? Ryan Nembhard? Ryan? Which Nembhard? Hang on. Andrew, thank you. Andrew Nembhard, phenomenal year. Like, I don't think anyone had that kind of an expectation on him coming into the year. So it's just they got performance from guards at a crazy level, and that allowed them to spread out the assist numbers a little more. But like that offense just generates looks after looks after looks, and I think that that's a lot to do with him.
Ricky, any thoughts?
I mean, the one thing that I keep thinking about, I'm looking at my own rankings for this, and I don't know if it just fell out this way and this just happens to do, but like I look at my list and it's like Steph, SGA, Luka, Maxey, Jalen Brunson, Jamal Murray, and then Tyrese Halliburton. What do all of them have in common? And Jake, this is not a dig at you, except for maybe Maxey. I would have to look up to see if Maxey has this. What do they all have in common? Do you guys know? They've all at least been in a deep playoff run. And what I mean deep is conference finals. And it's not a dig at you. I just was looking and I was like, okay, Maxey might be the only one out of this because of how long it's been. But it's funny how my top 7, most of them have that playoff experience and have played well in the playoffs. Go ahead.
Jalen Brunson doesn't, and the Knicks conference finals drought is actually longer than the Sixers.
All right, then 2. Then 2.
That wasn't targeted at you. It was targeted at Knicks fans.
The 3 that I looked up was because obviously Halliburton played very well. Made it last year.
Oh no,
you're
Brunson
right.
Did it with
okay,
Mavericks.
So
yeah,
Brunson did.
But I'm targeting that at the Knicks fans.
Yeah. But like Halliburton, he got swept in the Eastern Conference Finals, but every one of those was like a dog fight to try to win against the best team that we ever saw play the game last year. Ja Morant had only been, I just had it up here. The furthest he ever got was the conference finals, but you can also argue that he ran into one of the best dynasties that we've ever seen in the game as they lost to the Warriors in 6 games the one year that happened. But it's like, it's funny that the top of this, what's the one thing that they all have is these players, when they get to the playoffs, what do? They excel. And it's pretty hard to be like, well, the Mavs made the finals. Yeah, Kyrie helped, but oh man, Luka, like, oh no, he didn't do it. Like it was all Kyrie. No, without both of them, they don't make it that far. Without Tyrese, the Pacers don't make it that far. You can say that for almost every player, I would say in the top set. So like Steph, SGA, Luka, Maxey, Brunson, Murray, and Halliburton.
Yeah, I think that's all. I think that's fair. Even Maxey, who hasn't been there, he's elevated his game in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, see that the last 2 years. We have 3 more guys to talk about. So like we did last section, we'll just divvy them off. Ricky, I'll go to Dave first since we just heard from Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, I'll give you the choice between Dame or De'Aaron Fox, whichever one you want to talk about.
Did Dame fall off? Is he coming back? Because I feel like we all just kind of are wiping away the idea that like Dame could just be on a downcline, to steal the phrase from the past. I feel bad asking the question. I know this man went through, all the off-court stuff with the divorce, moving cities, the trade, everything in the offseason did not go as planned. And during the regular season, he did not look like Dame did. And like you had the moments of Dame time. He had a game winner. Ooh, great. His shooting splits weren't good. As a player, he couldn't, like, defense just was not there. And the Bucks took a step back because Damian Lillard was on their team kind of moment. And I hate to be the guy to ask the question because it sounds like I'm just coming at him. And like, we're talking about one of the greatest, point guards. He was always the next up point guard because he was behind perennial all NBA, perennial everything, Steph Curry. It was always just like, oh, well, it's Steph and then Dame. And it's James Harden and then Dame. And it's someone else and then Dame. And I feel like Dame's time is passing by. And I think if we get a healthy year out of him and Giannis, he'll still be pretty good. My expectation's still pretty good. I don't think he's, completely garbage and gonna like fall out of the league or go to a bench role. He's not quite there yet. But you have to admit that like the question's there now to see if he can come back and look like his old self or if this is what we should expect out of him.
Yeah, I think it's a big year for him, Doc, and the Bucks just in general. Brook Lopez is kind of that same thing again. Yeah, Ricky, De'Aaron Fox. Any thoughts?
So here's the question. You said 3 names, but then you only said 2.
Yeah, I'm holding on to the last one.
Oh, but I had him the lowest.
Okay, we'll bounce off of it.
I
but just
feel
De'Aaron
bad
Fox.
for having Drew Holiday the lowest. But that
Yeah, it's
was my
fine.
point. Like
We'll
NBA
bounce.
champion Drew Holiday,
no,
two-time.
it's a little bit so couple things. First, De'Aaron
All right,
Fox.
sorry, Darren.
I got really like nothing mind blowing to say about De'Aaron. I had him at on my personal rankings. I had him just inside the top 10. Like he is to me, he played very well last year on a fun Kangs team. Maybe they're turning back into the Kings. We'll decide that this year on the fast break. But like, it's just interesting because like I had De'Aaron Fox just in the top 10, and to piggyback off Dave's point, I had Dame one spot outside the top 10, mainly because of, like he said, I want to believe in Dame time.
No, I know.
But was last year just like there was so much going on in his life that basketball took a back, not took a back seat, but it's like, it's hard to perform when you got all this other shit going on. And then
New
like
city, multiple coaches,
yeah,
role,
divorce, that's a big one too. And then Drew Holiday, I feel kind of bad for having him at 13. I feel like that's a little low in retrospect.
Yeah, I think I described Dame. You said like basketball kind of became secondary. Maybe I'll describe it more as rookie trying to multitask because it's an impossible feat because he can't do it. And Dame having his off the
Wait. Let's give an example. Ding.
Yeah, I know. So if I had tried to ask Ricky a question now, he would not even hear a word I'm saying.
Or I'd be
I feel like, yeah, or that. Dame with all his off the court stuff. I understand why he had it down here. I get it. It's an adjustment for the first time in his entire career. He had to move, and it was basically across the country because Portland is way up there, right?
Yep.
So I don't know. I guess we'll see. We know with Doc, he's going to prioritize Dame and Giannis, and they're going to get shots, and the whole system is going to be around them.
Yep.
So we're going to see exactly how he is. De'Aaron Fox, again, yeah, I don't have much to say. I think he's a quality player. Kings, fun team. They're going to play no defense this year, but their offense is going to be insanely hard to stop. And then Drew Holiday, I just want to take a little victory lap because I wasn't on the fast break last year. There wasn't a fast break last year. And I remember whenever they traded for Drew Holiday and they traded Marcus Smart away, and our JD, MVP member, obviously, check out the onside kick, big Celtic fan, he was mad about the trade. And I remember saying throughout the entire year that Drew Holiday is going to be one of the difference makers and then winning the championship. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened because where Tatum underperformed in the finals, Drew Holiday excelled. Drew Holiday and Derek White were everywhere. And you'll see Derek White in our next rankings. But Drew Holiday was tremendous at basically any role they threw at him. Whatever they needed him to do this year, he did it great in the playoffs. Regular season, whatever. He was mad. But the postseason, but that's what Drew Holiday does, though. Yeah. Like he stepped up. He stepped up and elevated. We talked about elevating his game, right? That's what all these guys have done. The only guy we probably haven't seen do it in the playoffs, well, we probably did see him do it. His team just didn't win. Was De'Aaron Fox, right?
Yeah.
Like when the Kings have been in the playoffs, meh. But like Dame, we've obviously seen it, right? Yeah, Lillard got the shot off, bang against the Rockets.
Minus that one memory that's forever stuck in my head of Rajon Rondo putting the clamps on Dame.
Oh, dude, the Pelicans series.
The Pelicans Portland series will live forever.
Wait, who was Rondo's backcourt mate in that series?
I know. Why can't I remember the name? I used to always.
I just said his name. Drew Holiday. It was Drew
Holiday.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
Because Drew Holiday is, I will say, I think he's the best guard defender in the entire league, right? When he's at his best. He is unbelievable at everything. Screen navigation, switching, guarding down low, guarding at the point of attack. Whatever you want, he can do.
Yep.
I think Drew Holiday is tremendous, and him at 10 is a testament to how good he is. Because offensively, you would not look at Drew Holiday and be like, blown away by just about anything he does offensively. But he is that good defensively that he deserves to be up this high and above guys like Harden, like Jamal Murray, like Trae Young, like those kind of guys. He's that good defensively.
How many guys can be a point guard and defend 1 through 5? You know,
at an elite level, like everybody. It did not matter who he was on in those playoffs. He was guarding them. And yeah, that's any final thoughts, gentlemen, as we finish up our point guard 1 through 30 rankings.
It's good to be back.
Can't wait for the hot takes.
The hot takes will be fun. Again, before we leave you, down below, Patreon and Discord. Patreon if you want to watch these live, and if you want to watch some other exclusive content that'll be rolling out there on the Patreon channel as well, channel, website, whatever you want to call it as well. And the Discord, Down below, join it. It is free, whether you're basketball, football, wrestling, soccer, whatever you're into. If you want to talk soccer, I'm there, all right? Arsenal 2-2 draw yesterday.
You mean football?
Football.
Football?
Not the football Americano, like, the Saints' bad game yesterday.
I was going to say we did have a great moment here during the podcast. Oscar coming in saying, hey, I'm going to be a patron again, and walked right into a live recording. Didn't even know what he was walking into.
He walked right into a live recording of us talking about the Hawks.
Yes.
During his team's talk. That's what you can do. We want this to be a collaborative effort. We want to rebuild this community. We want the Discord to be popping during the season, all right? We want to be talking to you guys, especially when draft content comes out. When Dave and I start doing mocks and big boards and start talking drafts, we'll do mailbags from your guys' questions. We'd love to have your guys' input. We appreciate if you made it this far. If you have, please leave a like on the video, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications on our whenever video pops. You can get a notification right on your phone. But yeah, with that, we are out, and we will see you guys with the shooting guard rankings.
As always, we'd like to thank the people that make these videos possible, our patrons whose names are displayed on the screen now. If you would like to become a patron, go ahead and click the Patreon icon in the bottom right. And if you'd like to check out another video from MVP Sports, hit the video in the upper left. As always, thanks for watching.